Hi, boys and girls. This is Ms. Kathy. I'm so happy you've joined me today for another story just for you. In the case of the secret code, Willie starts getting strange messages on his computer. Could they really be from God? Chapter 10. Secrets Revealed. "Let's get out of here!" Chris yelled. Willie and Maria were way ahead of him. They started moving before he finished the sentence. As fast as the trip down the street had been, they were even faster going back. This time, Maria got there first. They dashed past Mrs. Shoes and Mrs. Vargas's cars, then burst through the door. Everyone in the room turned and stared as water dripped from them. Mud covered their feet and Willie's wheelchair. "What a mess!" Grandpa started to shout. Then he saw Coco riding in Willie's lap. "Coco! You found him!" Everyone crowded around, laughing and shouting. Coco seemed to enjoy the attention, but he would not leave Willie's lap. "Well, I guess you two are stuck with each other," Grandpa said. Willie smiled and hugged Coco again. Chris, Willie, and Maria told the story of the final code and how they solved it. "You should have seen Willie flying down the street," Chris shouted. "Then I got stuck in the mud," Willie reminded him. But when Willie started to tell about the man on the porch, Chris nudged him and Maria shook her head. "Hey, how about coming over tomorrow?" Chris asked when he and Maria finally had to leave. "Only if I can bring Coco with me," Willie said. The door closed behind the Vargases, and Grandpa was left with a very muddy Willie and Coco. "I'm sorry we're such a mess, Grandpa," Willie said, "but it was an emergency." "I know," Grandpa said. "We just have to get you cleaned up before we go to the airport." "Airport?" Willie asked. "What for?" "Have you forgotten what day this is?" Grandpa raised his eyebrow again. "It's Tuesday the 23rd, Willie said. Then it struck him. Mom and Dad are coming home. Willie took his bath while Grandpa washed Coco. While Willie dried, combed, and dressed, Grandpa wiped off the wheelchair. Finally, they were ready to go. Willie and Grandpa were quiet most of the way to the airport. Finally, Willie spoke up. "Grandpa, it's raining awfully hard. Can their airplane land all right in this weather?" "Oh, sure," Grandpa said. "The pilots are all professionals. They've got helpers in the tower to guide them down, and they have radar to see through the clouds." Willie paused. "But planes do crash, don't they? Especially in bad weather." Grandpa patted Willie on the knee. "Willie, you've had lots of experiences in the past few days. What have you learned about prayer and problems like this?" Willie closed his eyes and thought. "God wants you to ask for what you need. You need to trust Him, even if you don't get what you want or don't get it right away. And sometimes God just wants you to talk to Him, even if you can't think of anything you need right then." Grandpa smiled. "You think God is taking care of your mom and dad up there?" Willie nodded slowly. "Then I don't think you need to worry. Let God take care of them." Willie took a deep breath, rubbed Coco's fur again, and closed his eyes. Even though Willie agreed with Grandpa, he felt a lot better when Mom and Dad stepped out from the airplane gate. Willie held his arms out wide, and Mom and Dad ran and hugged him together. Coco barked until he got in on the hugging, too. Willie chattered all the way to the car about the codes, Coco's disappearance, and the mysterious person named G.O.D. "So you still don't have an idea who this G.O.D. person is?" Mom asked finally. "I have my suspicions," Willie said. "I want to check them out tomorrow." "If we're lucky, this mystery will keep you busy all summer," chuckled Dad. "Maybe you should check with George, the mail carrier," Mom said. "He probably knows everyone in town." "That's it," Willie said. "Grandpa, stop the car." "What?" Grandpa said. "Why?" "Just stop it, please. Pull in here," Willie said. "I have an idea." Grandpa turned the car into the town's only ice cream shop. "I never saw a kid so eager to get an ice cream," he said. Willie got into his wheelchair and pushed his way into the store. The rain had stopped, and the store was crowded. Willie looked at the people around him, then looked at the flavors. As he was looking, he heard a familiar voice. "1 scoop of Rocky Road, please." Then he heard his mom say, "Hello, George. We were just talking about you." Willie turned his wheelchair and looked up at the man. "George O. Davis," he said loud enough for everyone in the store to hear. "You're G.O.D." "What?" Mom and Dad said together. Willie looked at Mr. Davis, who was trying to hide his red face behind a Rocky Road ice cream cone. "Mr. Davis is the mystery person," Willie said with a grin. "It all fits." "Are you sure?" Grandpa asked. "Nice Mr. Davis?" Mom asked. "How could he be?" Dad asked. "He just lives 3 blocks down the street from us." Willie looked at his dad, then at Mr. Davis. "You were watching us tonight, weren't you?" Mr. Davis grinned and nodded. "I was afraid you would hurt yourself over there, so I went to keep an eye on you." "How did you get my library book?" Willie asked. "I found it in the bushes by your driveway. It must have dropped out of your car sometime in the past few days." "Why didn't you just bring Coco back?" Grandpa asked. "I heard a dog barking this afternoon as I went by the garage, and I thought it was strange, but I didn't know Coco was missing. After I heard that, I was sure that's who it was. I told Willie right away." Willie nodded. "He did, right on the computer. How do you know so much about computers? And codes?" Mr. Davis grinned again. "Computers are kind of a hobby with me, and I've loved codes since I was your age." He patted Willie's arm. "It drives Mrs. Davis crazy. Stop by sometime, and we'll talk her into making cookies." "That would be great," Willie said. "Imagine," Willie thought as they headed home, "Mr. George O. Davis is the mystery person." His head was still whirling when they got home. "Time for bed, Detective," Dad said. "Just 1 minute, Dad, okay?" Willie said as he headed for the computer. "I need to check one thing." Willie switched the computer on and logged into the bulletin board. His hunch had been right. A message waited. 2-12-6, 26-9-22, 7-12-12, 20-12-12-23, 26, 23-22-7-7-18-5-5-22, 21-12-9, 14-22 exclamation. Willie stared at it a long minute before he laughed out loud. "I'm not that backward, Mr. G.O.D." He switched the computer off and went to bed.
The story you have heard today is a chapter of the Shoebox Kids, Book 2, The Case of the Secret Code, written by Glenn Robinson, edited and created by Jerry D. Thomas, and used with permission from the Pacific Press Publishing Association. If you're interested in any other books published by the Seventh-day Adventist Church, please visit AdventistBookCenter.com or call 1-800-765-6955.
This podcast is a production of the Carolina Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.